Hi, I'm Chantel Cohen, and I am here with Maggie Jackson, Rebecca Beckwith, as we call her Becky Beckwith, and Angela Mendez. And these amazing women have agreed to talk with me because they are going to work with the CWC team, and we're so excited to have them. They have over 50 years combined experience, so these women know what they're doing. Maggie is an LCSW, Becky is an LCSW, and Angela is an LPC. And of course, I'm an LCSW as well. And so I just want to have you guys kind of get a feel for them, get to know them. And so I'm going to ask them a few questions. I think that you want to sit on the edge of your seat because what these ladies have to tell you about themselves is going to be very interesting. And so I'm going to start with my first question for Table Talk is, when did you know that you wanted to be a therapist? And I'll start with Maggie.
That's a great question. And as you asked me the question, I could visualize where I was, what I was wearing, and just the process of coming to that realization that that's what I wanted to do. I was working with, I was a teenager and doing some volunteer work in Haiti, and working with families and seeing kind of the struggles there, and just having moments of being able to talk to the community, and them being grateful that someone is actually listening and hearing their concerns and hearing their voices. Felt very genuine, and I felt connected, not just to that particular person, but to the whole community. So felt very comfortable and genuine, and I knew then that this was where I needed to be.
Yeah. So in that moment, especially that connectedness, feeling connected
Absolutely.
to the person in front of you, but the larger community.
Absolutely.
And it sounds like you could feel maybe even the gratitude or the appreciation from the person that you were talking with, that you were listening with them.
And that their voices were heard for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And someone cared.
Powerful.
Yeah.
That's really powerful. And you were just a teenager.
I was a teenager doing service work.
Man.
Absolutely.
Most of us are just thinking about what color eyeshadow we want to wear. Maggie's found her calling in her teens. How about you, Becky?
When you had asked us that question earlier, I thought about that a little bit, and I think about when I actually volunteered when I was in high school, and I was in the high school band, and I played trumpet. And our local chapter Legionnaires asked me to play taps for them at their the Memorial Day parade, and I did. And the veterans would talk to me, and I just really enjoyed their stories. And I was kind of like their buddy, and they asked me to play at their funerals.
Wow.
So I played at funerals, and I really enjoyed that. And I knew that I wanted to help people. So I went to college and kind of found my way to here. And I love it. I really do love it.
Wow, that's really incredible that you were playing taps and some people were planning for their funerals and telling you that they wanted you to play.
They would ask me to play. I was 14 years old and all the way through high school and into college too. So I would play at funerals.
What was that like, playing
It was an
taps
honor.
at those funerals?
It was an honor to be asked and to be part of the service and be part of the story, the end of life story, which I really was just honored.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I would imagine that a lot of 14-year-olds, it might be somber for them or depressing. And so, it's interesting. Part of what we do, I think, is we're able to hear people's stories and sit in their sadness with them. And we are a part of the solution.
Absolutely.
And I think if you feel being a part of the solution, then it feels really good. Because people, I get it all the time. How do you do what you do? It just, and you can hear from their stories that the way that they see these moments are very, very different. They don't see these moments as burdensome. And so, Angela, tell us about when you knew you wanted to be a therapist.
Yes. Well, it's twofold. It was similar to Maggie. I knew right out of high school. So my senior year in high school, I had just lost my sister. She passed away to cancer my junior year. And I met an art therapist through that process. And that time with that art therapist was some of the only moments of light that I had through that dark period. And it was very short dark period because she was diagnosed in October, and by February of that following year she passed. So
Your sister was just 14, right?
I was 15 and she was 8 at the time.
Oh,
so it was very, very hard, very difficult, which I think is a lot of what brings therapists to the work. Being, if you've felt something deeply, you have a calling to help others, and that's what happened to me at that moment in time. That I felt I had this calling to help in the way that art therapist helped me. I didn't know that was going to turn into counseling and therapist just yet, but then senior year, I took, my school offered psychology as the elective for the first time ever. And y'all are going to laugh. You think it's funny, but I watched the movie Sybil with Sally Field. And for anyone who's ever watched that movie, that's the story of a character who was, back then it was called multiple personality disorder. Today we know it as dissociative identity disorder. And my little 17-year-old mind thought, that is so cool. I want to be that psychologist. I want to study psychology and behavior and the brain, and I just think that's fascinating. And so that's what I studied in college, and then one thing after the other led to counseling and fully pursuing therapy and being a therapist.
Wow. It's and you can hear that that not only that personal experience that Angela had, but also having this experience of actually going through, losing her sister is the personal experience that I was talking about, but also having to go through therapy herself and realizing that those were the only moments where she felt like there was a little bit of light. And so that's when we know the healing power of what we do. And obviously, Sybil. For those of you who are too young, Sally Field was Forrest Gump's mom.
Yes.
and she was in this kind of almost like a Lifetime movie where she had, again, what they called back then multiple personalities and etc. And so people just are endlessly fascinating, what they, their motivations, what they do, but even sometimes struggles that they have, maybe with mental health challenges, can be fascinating for us as well. And so again, being part of the solution is, I think, where we all are at this moment. I think I'm going to start with Becky on this one. What is your favorite part of your job as a therapist?
My favorite part of my job is really sitting with somebody and they're sharing their story, and like you said earlier, being part of the solution. And I'm solution focused. That is my approach, strength-based focused. And when I'm listening to someone's story, just working through the challenges and the problems together, through their strengths and solutions that we find together, and they're implementing that change, is my favorite part.
Implementing change, yeah. That is always great when you see a person shift from something that's maybe even maladaptive to something that's much more adaptive. I'm going to pinch Becky the next time because she uses her therapist voice when she's talking on camera, and I really would like for her to project. We're leaving this in, by the way. Okay. So use your voice.
I will.
Use your outdoor voice. You know, with kids, how you're like, use your indoor voice. I want you to be. So, and with that, Angela.
Yes.
Angela.
There is a therapist voice for those of you all who have worked with therapists before. Many of us do have.